Everyone, welcome back to Inland Empire Sports Talk, brought to you by BSN. Today, I have the head football coach from Beaumont High School, Jeff. Welcome to the program.
Thanks a lot. Glad to join you guys today.
Jeff, talk a little bit. You've been at Burroughs High School, A.B. Miller, Santiago, Rancho Verde, now Beaumont. You've had success basically everywhere you've gone. Introduce yourself to the folks at home just a little bit.
Yeah, so this will be my 23rd year as a head football coach. We moved to California, just my wife and I, and one dog in 1998, and now here we are 22 years later with a house full of kids, a house full of dogs, 4 kids, 4 dogs, 2 cars, and life is busy and life is great. It's awesome to be back coaching and teaching in a community that I'm living. I experienced it at the start of my career as a head football coach when I was at Beaumont, at Burroughs High School, and now it's just awesome knowing what that's like to be able to do it again here at Beaumont as we go through some challenges, but also some really great things for this community because, as you know, this community is exploding, being the fastest growing community in California. So being at a one high school community and staying that way for some time is going to be just a great thing.
Yeah, and I actually really appreciate that Beaumont as a city decided to stick with a one high school model because, I mean, you're seeing everyone diluting and adding high schools seemingly everywhere right now. But like coming from the Midwest and from Michigan, like it was always this city versus this city and the one high school community. And that's what I grew up in. So that's what I really appreciate about Beaumont.
Exactly. And, it's just far and few between in this state to find a community where there's one high school, especially if it's a growing community. And we look at the area of Beaumont and the expansion that's going on and all the homes that are being built and having an opportunity to talk to people at the district office and knowing that they're going to just build within our high school and make it a very cool place to be able to house that many students, but still give them the feel that it's a small community. And I've seen schools. I actually saw Wayzata High School in the state of Minnesota that has 4,500 students. And as you know, in the Midwest, there's no open campus there. And talking to people at that school saying that one of the things that parents love is, although it's a very large school, the kids still feel like it's a small school the way they were able to work things out logistically. So I think that's going to be a really, really neat thing to see as we build out here.
Absolutely. And I think the grassroots and social media does help with that because you can stay hyper connected now in ways that before you kind of felt like a number, but now you can really get involved and delve into smaller groups and try to empower the student athlete and students just in general at these larger high schools.
Oh, without question. And then, obviously as your school grows, just having the opportunity to reach more athletes on your campus is something that really appeals to me as well.
Absolutely. Now, you've been a proponent of an air attack. You're basically your entire career. You've helped coaches. You've done coaching clinics on this and the spread offense. Talk to folks at home a little bit about your style as a coach versus what you see primarily in California right
Yeah. I would say that we were probably one of the first programs in California at the time that went to the no huddle spread offense with 4 wides. I know that at the time, Coach Logan was doing it as well. This is in the late 90s. I actually went to a clinic in, I think it was 2000, and it was down in Orange County, and Gus Malzahn was still a high school head football coach. He was at Shiloh Christian, and it was a clinic that was put on by Saddleback College. So Coach McElroy, who's also one of the pioneers here in the state of no huddle spread, had put it on. I remember seeing Matt Logan there. There wasn't a lot of guys at the clinic, so I kind of felt like it was a secret thing still at the time. and here we are, 20 plus years later, and it's pretty much the norm for people to go, we run a um, hurry up, no huddle style of offense. But we had made that decision early at Burroughs High School to not only be a spread, no huddle, but also to platoon our guys, which not a lot of people were doing. And I thought that gave us a huge advantage early on. But it's really cool to see how things have evolved, because I don't know if it's necessarily an advantage anymore to be four wide, hurry up offense and use tempo, because everybody uses it, and defenses now have caught up, and they're doing some creative things, and nobody really huddles anymore anyways. So we found some, I guess, new level stuff with regards to tempo and using personnel and doing some neat things to incorporate our offense to kind of still stay ahead and make it, I guess, somewhat of a challenge for people to plan for us. So I've always really loved getting the ball out. I wouldn't even say throwing the football, but getting the ball out in space to playmakers in a variety of different ways. And that's still going to be a big part of our offense. You do have to be able to run the ball between the tackles to be successful and to be playing football deep into the playoffs. And so that's important as well. And that pretty much, I'll be honest, that comes from learning those tough lessons where you're pig-headed and you refuse to run the football. If I can think back to maybe some of my better years at Burroughs, there was a year where we did not win a CIF championship. And I'll tell you right now, it had nothing to do with the kids. It came down to coaching or lack of, and making mistakes where if we had run the football, probably we would have won the next 2 weeks and nobody would have touched us. But, you learn from those things.
Now, do you practice at that cadence level as well?
Yeah, so we practice a variety of the tempos. There's phases of practice that we want to go very fast in whatever period it is. So certain drills that we do, drilling our tempo is done daily. But there's also learning periods where we do believe it's an advantage at practice to slowing things down, and let's get quality reps, and not let's get caught up in the it's almost like cliche for guys to say, we just go as fast as possible and coach off the film. Well, we don't have all this time where we can sit down in meetings, and you just can't run meetings for 40 minutes anymore anyways, where kids going to sit and listen. They're more interactive and short. So there's times where it's an advantage where we believe at practice to slowing things down and getting some good teaching and learning. But there's also times where it's an advantage to be able to go fast at practice. So we make sure we do both.
Absolutely. I mean, I've always been a big proponent of practice makes permanent instead of perfect, because everyone's always heard that practice makes like, no, whatever you're practicing, it can be done completely wrong. I mean, go look at CrossFit and certain things that I'm putting my body through. Like, I look back on film, like, that is not the right thing to do for my body. Versus if I take the time to really slow it down, like, okay, now I can feel where my hips are actually going through correctly. I'm doing the proper body mechanics. So I like that you utilize both styles.
Yeah, and it's important for, like you said, especially when you're learning a new skill, or it could be a new skill, new scheme, it's important to be able to give feedback instantly and correct things. Like when you're learning a new skill, like through research, we've learned that you want them to get it right as soon as possible. Like adversity or error is really not your friend at that time. There's things that are good about adversity, but when you're learning a new skill, you're gonna give feedback and critique, but you want them to try to get it as close to right as possible, so that there's a better chance that they're gonna be more successful and that it's gonna stick as well.
Absolutely. I know when I'm training officials, one of the things we talk about is that you shouldn't be learning, like if I give you a test and I go, okay, you missed these 10. Okay, well now I have to talk about these 10. So that way you're learning what's right. Instead of giving you another test and then, all right, take it again. Well, you don't know what you did right or wrong. Now you're guessing on and trying
Right.
to refigure out Well, now you're learning that these are wrong, but you're not learning what's right. You need to learn what's right and work on those things because you already know that 90% of what you were doing right.
Yeah, totally agree with you. And that's why, like the science of teaching, it's important for coaches to be able to break things down so that you can teach it in parts. Like you don't just start with like, oh, we're going to run, this play and here it is, but there's all these components that go into it so that when it does come time to practice, if it's a new scheme or play that you're putting in, when it comes time to practice that 11 on 11, there's going to be a very good chance that they're going to be successful because they've practiced it in small individually, the skills that need to be done, and then in small group, and then you set the defense so that they can be successful. And then, I guess the end product would be what we call live bullets or live situations where they're going to be able to do it on the fly and make the adjustments necessary. But you certainly wouldn't start with that.
Absolutely. Now, you've also been a really big proponent of culture, leadership, especially in the community throughout the years. I've heard several interviews with you where you're talking about how you empower your kids to become leaders in the community. Talk a little bit about your culture as a coach, the family atmosphere you try to create with your players throughout the different programs that you've worked with.
So, like, I don't know if I'm doing anything magical or if I have some, specific formula, but I've always felt that, if you want to be successful in anything, there's a foundation to how those things start, and the foundation to doing anything with other people, whether it's like having a family, whether it's running a business, whether it's having a great team, the foundation is building great relationships. And so part of building great relationships is being able to actually establish it and being transparent, showing some vulnerability as well, um, great communication. And so I think when you establish those things right away, there's a very good chance that you're going to be able to have that solid relationship with people. And when you have a great relationship with people, they're going to know where you're coming from and what your expectations are of them as well. And so there's going to be a really good chance that you're going to build that culture in. So culture, it's not something that you just put a saying on a board or slapping these 10 rules down on a piece of paper, but it's actually living them, yourself, being a role model, and then creating those expectations for kids and holding them accountable. So I think that's kind of where it all starts. And then over time, if you're pretty consistent with that, when kids come through your program, they're going to start to actually model those behaviors and they're going to hold each other accountable. So, you'll have a good football program if you pretty consistent and you hold the kids accountable to whatever you believe in. But once your kids actually start believing in that and holding each other accountable to those things, you're going to have an incredible program. And so that's kind of what I strive for.
Now, do you also work with and have your team go out to like the Junior All-American that Beaumont has, going out to the middle schools in the area? So that way those kids can already see examples and start to see themselves in the mirror and that lens of leadership. So that way when they come on campus as a freshman, they already have a pretty good understanding of how you are as a coach.
Yeah, so we've already done things out in the community where we've gone out to the elementary schools. I've tried to make somewhat of a presence at the Junior All-American practices with me and my coaches. But I think that, one of the bigger things that we've done for our youth coaching community is running a yearly coaching clinic at the high school, where we've had over 100 coaches the past few years come out. And I think that the next level or the next phase that you'll see us go through is to be able to actually run off-season camps for our youth players, where our players are involved helping out as well. And I think that's important because then by, the time they get to the high school, not only will they know, the scheme's not really important, but the skills that we teach. And then again, what the expectations are in terms of how we act, how we behave.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, there was a giant announcement yesterday from CIF and CIF Southern Section. So, as much as you can, give me your thoughts on that announcement and how it's going to play out as a roadmap for us all.
The past 4 weeks, when we've been having Zoom meetings with our players, we've been trying to prepare them for the announcement. And so in the preparation, I've told our team a few things that I would be pretty sure that the season wouldn't start till the new year. I told them that I'm very sure there won't be state playoffs, and I'm very sure that there won't be a complete season. So I wanted to hope for the best, but expect the worst. So I told the team yesterday, hey, I was right on one of the three. We're starting our season in January, guys. There's going to be a full season, and there's going to be a state playoff. And I think that there's obviously going to be huge challenges coming up. Like schools and CIF had to make a decision to take all 3 seasons and lump them into 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they did as really as good of a job as you can ask for, in that kids are still getting their seasons. They're getting pretty much complete seasons. And there's going to be an opportunity for state playoffs. But we're going to have some logistical challenges coming up with facilities, sharing athletes. Some sports are going to have to share their athletes with club teams. Some coaches may have to make decisions of not being able to coach more than one sport. Obviously, the facility challenges are just going to be gigantic. And I think those are big challenges, but I don't necessarily think that those are going to be the biggest challenges coming up. Like, we still have to work towards getting our kids back to being at the school, learning, and actually being at the school and having an opportunity to prepare them for the season. I think those are now going to be the biggest challenges coming up for us. So it's nice to have a date, because I could actually, the coaches just wanted to get back to work somehow. So I'm sure yesterday was calendar day for all the programs around the state. My brain, it was awesome, because I haven't put my brain to use like that for the past few months. And as coaches, we like to work. And so yesterday was just awesome. I had something to work on, and it was nice for our players to see that we have a date that we can, okay, here we go. We have a date that we can work on. So it was a really great meeting yesterday with our team.
I know, like, just watching Twitter and Instagram just blow up. You can see all my coaches across the board. They're just like, we have this, everyone's starting, and you can just see the mind trust starting. And even with me, with assigning officials, like, I had so many officials. So wait, what's going on now? Like, how am I going to have basketball and baseball in the same season? And a lot of the assigners have started talking about, like, okay, how can we stack officials? Can I have the same baseball umpire work the bases at 3:15 at Beaumont and then go work a 6 o'clock basketball game, and trying to work with assigners? Same thing with football. It's like, okay, can we have these officials already on campus, so that way you're not trying to drive back and forth, because you already have an official shortage, and now we're trying to cram things together. The logistics of all this, just even sporting goods aside, is going to be interesting, to put it mildly.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's the challenge isn't going to be the logistics of facilities and stuff. There's going to be some bigger challenges coming up, but hey, we talk to our athletes all the time about, working through adversity. And I think now's the time to kind of, like, put that to test.
Oh, absolutely. I posted on Twitter this morning that some adversity breaks people and other people break records. It just depends on how you look at it. Everything's an opportunity in life. Speaking of opportunities, you all are moving. You guys are going to the CBL this year. And talking to Rich Lunsford last week, he's like, I just can't get away from Jeff. So talk a little bit about joining the CBL and how you see that going, and renewing old rivalries and creating new ones.
there's going to be challenges with that because we're transitioning from small town, small school Beaumont to now we're playing bigger communities with very established football programs as well, that have been playing with the larger schools. So, we're not looking at this as like the next season. It's more like, okay, here we go. Although the expectation is we're preparing just like anybody else would be to be successful in the league. It's not about participation. It's about successfully participating. So I'm very excited for the future because, we're growing and we should be in a league like that. Schools that field 3 levels for football, freshman, JV, and varsity. They've got good numbers, very good coaches. We're going to have our work cut out for us. But I'm excited about like the new rivalries. Like Banning has been, the long-standing rivalry game in the Inland Empire for a number of years, and that's going to continue. But I could see Yucaipa just being just a natural rivalry between the two communities, being both, one high school communities and growing. So we're excited. I think we've got our work cut out for us. Coach Bruick's moved to Citrus Valley. He's done a great job where he's been too. So that'll be something. I know, Redlands is doing some different things offensively and defensively this next season. Coach Lunsford inherited a very good football program there. And then obviously Coach Rogers and those guys at Cajon have done a great job in the last number of years and experience playing them. Didn't end up very well for us at Rancho Verde when we played them in the regional final for state, but a lot of respect for those programs and coaches.
Yeah, you're definitely going into a league that has a lot of history.
Yes.
Which I think is a good thing, especially like you said, for a one-town community, for people to embrace that challenge, I think is something that we frankly need right now. Even COVID aside, just the way that sports can empower community, I think is always been one of the things that I love about sports and small town Americana. One of the things moving from the Midwest out here, you're like, we seem to be so disjointed because there's so much to do that when communities can come together, I think it's magical.
Yes, totally agree. And that's the great thing about being in the one high school community is your support isn't going out to a bunch of different schools. It's all focused on the one high school. So that's just awesome.
Absolutely. Now, how have you been empowering your athletes? Like, what have you learned as a coach during this pandemic? Because if we all are continue education and constantly trying to strive for more. So what have you learned as a coach and how are you empowering your players during this time?
So one of the things that we've had to do fairly quickly with the kids is we now live in an age where everything is organized by parents. Like when I was a kid quite some time ago, kids, you went out and you organized your own stuff. Like you went out and got your own games going in the street and you decided on the sports that you were going to play. But we do live in an age now where the parents sign the kids up for a lot of different things. They organize their kids' days and it's the way it is. And so we've had to teach our kids during this time how to organize their day and how to actually do stuff on their own. Like you're not in the weight room anymore with the coach looking over your workout and managing every part of your workout. You've had to do some things on your own because you may have some weights at home, but you may have nothing. And most kids probably, I would assume, like don't have a full rack of weight at home. Probably don't have dumbbells, don't even have rubber bands. It's okay, what can I do for body weight? So we've had to teach the kids how to still train at a high level and be creative with doing their own stuff at home. So that's why I've posted a few things. You saw that the hamstring thing with the skateboard and stuff like that. But I'm pretty proud of how our kids have responded in the face of adversity with having to do stuff at home and having to stay on top of things. So that's been a one thing that we've done. The other thing is kids have to stay connected. And, one of the things that school does is it allows kids a natural connection of having that face-to-face interaction. And obviously it's been lost to be at home, and makes it very difficult for kids to not be around their social groups that they're used to being around every day. And so we've created opportunities where we're going to get on Zoom as a team and then in our position groups, but we've also challenged our kids to continue with their daily and weekly goals that we call commitments, the short-term stuff, what are you going to commit to for this week physically? What are you going to, and they have to write this down. What are you going to commit to this week in terms of making your family better? What are you going to commit to this week for your personal development? So don't even think about football. And then what are you going to commit to this week socially in terms of interactions with other people? And it's great to see the things that the players put down, because I just go through the form and read through it. So, one of the things a kid could commit to personally is, I'm going to read for 30 minutes every night. Or as a family, I'm going to help my parents with cooking 3 nights this week. And then socially, I'm going to reach out to, 3 teammates that I haven't reached out to in the last few weeks this week. And so we've had to think outside the box and challenge them a little bit to do some things that came naturally, or things that we tended to take for granted, or that we haven't done, that will actually help us as a human, and allow us to stay positive and grow during this time. So those have been some of the things that we've done.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that all of us have this tendency where we can kind of fall into our own knee holes and bunker ourselves, where we naturally, like, if I'm not going out to campuses, I could very easily just sit behind my computer, take the orders that come, and just send out and be an inside sales rep, even though I'm an outside sales rep. My job is to be on campus. My job is to be in front of people. And this has been just odd for me as an official, as a rep, as just a sports lover, just to be hunkered in. And you could have a lot of people, if you're not reaching out, go into depression, whether they know it or not. And it's amazing how that earworm, once it's in, just continually just turns that screw a little bit. And it takes somebody else. Like, I've been actively trying to reach out to my friends, but, hey, how's it going? Oh, no, it's fine, everything. I'm like, no, how's it going? Like, let's just talk, just to bring them out. So I really appreciate the fact that you're doing that for the community and for the kids. And so when you get back, and obviously you've talked about different levels of physicality, are you going to put people in different physical groups? Because obviously you're going to have kids right now that are gym rats, that love it, that have full weights at home, and then the one that lives in an apartment complex that he can't go and work out at all, right? And everything in between. So how do you kind of stagger off the physicality when you are able to practice again in December?
So it really depends on what they're going to allow. Like, if it's going to be like groups of 10 or less, if it's going to be, split up into offense, defense, or certain position groups on the field, or if it's just full go. So that'll be number one. But I was talking to one of our coaches this morning, and he's got a strength and conditioning background. And I said, how long would it take to get our kids ready for a season? And it depends on what their conditioning level is. So he said, assuming that they've been doing a lot of stuff, you're looking at probably 3 weeks to get them in, top shape. And then for every level that's not doing as much, it's an extra 2 to 3 weeks. So a kid who has been doing very little, you're looking at probably 8 to 9 weeks to be able to get them in shape, versus the kid who's been doing everything up to now that we've been putting out. They need about 3 weeks. So that'll definitely be something else that we're going to have to take into consideration to get them ready. And that'll be one of the challenges that coaches have for their sports.
Absolutely. I mean, there was an article on SportsCenter last night talking about the NFL and that exact fact, that players are so afraid of coming back. And that's one of the reasons they wanted those 4 down to 2 down to no preseason games, is the physicality of football and not being ready. And the
Right.
potential for injury is so much higher right
Yeah. Like in the NFL, they've really had no, no OTAs, none of that stuff, nothing where they've been able to come to the facility. So it's been, I'm sure there are challenges, and I know they're professional athletes, but I'm sure not every professional athlete does everything that they need to do. You would hope they do, but they're going to be coming back in various levels of strength and conditioning as well.
now. Well, yeah, you can be a professional athlete, but you're still an adult. You still have responsibilities. And if everyone's at home, your responsibilities are extremely different. And you and I both know that as parents, like all of a sudden, what we used to have an hour or 2 hour block in the middle of the day, like, oh, yeah, I can go get my workout in. That might not be reality anymore. So, one thing that I always ask my coaches to finish with is now what? What is one word of advice you give to your players, parents, coaches, community moving forward? What would be your words of wisdom for what we're looking at August through December?
Stay positive. Focus on your goals that are positive, and don't let distractions drive you away. I think now is a great time in that, like, we have a start of the season established. And so let's just make sure we get back to, what we love about our sport. What are the things that we want to accomplish during the season? And we have a great opportunity to be able to do those, even though we've had a lot of time away, because we actually now have, which would be the equivalent of a spring and summer, to get back in shape, whether it's together or whether it's on our own. Let's go back to and revisit what our goals are for a successful year, academically and athletically.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, thanks for being on the program. Again, this is the Inland Empire Coaches Talk. Anybody that'd like to be on the program, please feel free to reach out to us. And everyone stay safe and God bless. Thanks, Jeff.
Appreciate it.